the M word and why we don't sort of like really discuss anything around finances, around your money. Why is it so secretive, and why do we sort of try to keep it secret in most cases? So we are going to be discussing that today on Wisdom Time with JD. Just sort of like, waiting for a few more people to log in, and I'll quickly show the slides and we'll sort of talk through. If you have any questions as we go through it, please do use the chat facility and we'll sort of, do it in a more interactive way. If people want to sort of chat as we go through it, that'll be great. Okay, so I'll quickly share my screen so we can start. Okay, so like I said, we're going to be talking about the M word. We're going to be talking about money and what people think about money. I sort of used the M word, and I think if you have seen the Lloyd's TSB advert where people are sort of saying, no, we don't talk about money, that it's, oh, that's very personal, that we don't sort of like discuss that. And we are going to sort of explore some different thinkings around that and sort of try to see if we can sort of highlight different things around that. Okay, so there are different ways of thinking about money. And I think a lot of the ways that we think about money are sometimes centered around the scripture in 1 Timothy 6, verse 10. And I think the scripture kind of says that the love of money is the root of all evil. So because we sort of see it as the root of all evil, it sort of seems like money is such a bad thing that people don't even want to discuss about it. We don't even talk to our children about it. People just get to the age where they start working and getting paid, but no one actually ever set you down and said, well, this is money and this is how to handle it. It just, it becomes sort of something that's mythical. We don't actually talk about it. And I think sometimes we talk about money sometimes too late, when someone is now in debt. That's when we now go like, oh, you should have used your money better, kind of thing. And even in our education system, we don't have that much in terms of training or teaching around money and how to make money, how to use money, how to make money work for you. Those things are sort of like not there at all. Someone sort of said, well, instead of saying that the love of money, so it's the love of money. It's not money itself that is the root of evil. It is the lack of money, the love of money that's evil. Someone actually turned this round and sort of said, well, the lack of money can be the root of all evil, because people will do all sorts of atrocities just to try to make money. So, is it the love of money that's actually evil, or is it the lack of it that results in quite a lot of different things going on? So talking about money it's a serious taboo. People, like I say, people don't sort of talk about it. They don't want to even, discuss about it. There were a group of people that were sort of trying to say, okay, as friends, let's talk about money. And apparently, some of them were like, well, sharing the actual numbers is disgusting. Let's just use percentages. How much do you save? I save 1% of my income. What is 1%? And someone doesn't want to say because, they think it's disgusting to talk about the actual numbers. Some people say, well, it's really tacky to talk about money. Someone says, oh, it is a secret. There is a stigma around, there's a stigma that is attached to discussing about money. I sort of looked at some studies and sort of did an update today. And they were sort of looking at, I think it was a bank in America that did a study and sort of found that 70% of Americans think that it is rude to talk about money. So, yeah, it's so rude. You can't talk about money. 39% were likely to disclose their income, meaning 60%, 61% of people wouldn't disclose their income to anyone. 39% could talk about their savings. 29% they could talk about their debt to family and friends. And I guess maybe it's because you've got in debt and you're trying to get others to help. 43% didn't know their partner's salary. I sort of found that to be quite a big percentage of people that, as a married couple, you don't actually know how much the other person earns. It's kind of kept a secret, and we don't talk about money. 36% were unaware of the amount of money that they've invested. And, that I've read quite a lot where one of the partners dies and, the remaining partner doesn't actually even know what the other partner invested in, or where things are, they are sort of like really lost in terms of what's where really, because they have no clue how much of their money as a family is invested. What is it invested in? If something is to happen, who do I talk to? How do I find out about this? Because they don't talk about money as a family. And these are some of the things that are really common among people, and studies show that money is a subject that's a no-no. So today we want to try to address some of those things and maybe get us to a place where we sort of start thinking about talking about money and start thinking about positive ways of actually doing that. So there are different ways of thinking about money. Now, I can't afford it. If you say that, let's say, you want to buy a new house and then you just say, well, the deposit is too much, I can't afford it. Your brain actually stops working on that issue because you say, I can't. There's no way I can do it. Then you just like, no way, nothing. You stop thinking, your brain stops working. But if you think the same problem, but now look at it with the mindset of, how can I afford it? How can I afford to buy my own house? Okay, at least I need to know how much the house is cost. Look at the type of house that you like. Okay, it costs about $250,000. Look in the market, the mortgage products. What percentage would I need as deposit? I need 10%, and I think at the moment it's sort of verging towards 15-20% to get some decent products. So it's sort of looking at that, have an idea of like, okay, for me to buy this £250,000 property, I need to have this amount. I need to have 25,000 saved for me to be able to pay a 10% deposit. And then now start thinking about, okay, how can I afford it? How can I raise that money? Your brain starts working. If you are sort of saying, how can I afford it? Oh, maybe, like all of us have done because of the coronavirus, you're working from home. So it means that you're not eating out, you've cut out the coffee, you cut out the travel costs to work. For some people, that has actually allowed people to save money. I was surprised when I was watching the Martin Lewis show the other week, and there were people that were asking him that they've actually just got some savings from not having to go to the office, and they've got this money, and they were actually now thinking about how can they invest it, because it saved them quite a bit of money. So you need to have that, you need to move from I can't afford it, start thinking of how can I afford it? How can I afford it? How can I raise 25,000? Okay, well, maybe I need to do a side hustle. I need to get another side job to be able to help me raise this money. Or are there things that I can cut out? You look at your cable TV package. Are you actually using it? If you're not watching some of those channels, that's about £40 a month that you can save. And if you think about it over the course of the year, that's sort of nearly £500. Look at different things that you can actually do, shift different things to try to start saving that money, because you now know, okay, this is how much I need, and your mindset flips to how can I afford it. There are loads of different side hustles that someone could do, and your brain starts working on how can I afford it. But if you keep going on the I can't afford it, you just stop thinking, you don't do anything about it, and you'll be at the same place. So we need to sort of have a shift in mindset. Think of things like, how can I do this? And I remember one of the books I've been reading recently, it was saying, when you're thinking of how can I do something, you can also start thinking of like, who do I know that is doing whatever I want to do? And, get advice, talk to people, find out different ways that you can go about what you want to do. There are different schemes, like, the example we just said, you want to buy a house. There are different schemes. There are some people that are doing rent to buy. That's much better than just renting alone, because if you are renting to buy, it means that you are paying some extra money on the rent you're paying, so that extra money goes towards you buying that house. So that might be something someone can think about. So if you think of how can I do it, it creates ideas. It makes you more creative. It gets your brain to start working on the issue. So we need to sort of change the way that we look at things and the way that we think about money in that aspect. So, like I said earlier, that the problem also stems from our school system. You put time into studying subjects that you never really use in real life sometimes. Some of the things that, some of it might be good. Geography, if I look at the clouds, I can nicely tell you that that's a cumulonimbus and rain is about to come. And, maybe that's useful to learn that to some extent, but there are some things that, we sort of feel like if those subjects were really tailored sometimes, it would actually help to teach children about money while they are still in school. So you go to school, you study hard, you get a job, and we often do that out of cultural habit, because that's the way that we have always done it. Schools just focus on scholastic and professional skills, but no financial skills are taught, and financial skills are actually really, really important as you go on in life. I know that there are some schools that are actually incorporating some lessons about finances and things like that, but I think you have to be doing subjects like economics for you to learn about finances in school. Half the time, someone goes through the full education system, starts working and getting paid. They've never really spoken about money, about managing it, about how to spend it and how to get money. So like I say, the education system, it prepares people to work. You get up, you go to work, you pay the bills. And, what gets us up sometimes to go to work is the fear of not being able to pay my bills, the fear of being fired. If you don't show up too often, then you might actually end up losing that job. The fear of not having enough money, because I'm afraid I won't have enough money. I just keep going and I just keep going, because there's that fear of not having enough money. The fear of starting over. Some people are sort of like, oh my God, if I leave what I'm doing and I have to start over, the whole world will come down. The fear of losing money. People are so really afraid of losing their money that sometimes they just get up and I have to go to work because I have to get this money and pay bills, and then you sort of end up in the rat race where you're just going round and round in that cycle. So why do I not have enough money is a question that, sometimes we all ask ourselves. That, well, why do I not have enough money? So I sort of looked at this in two schools here. So I've got person A who says, well, I studied so hard to find a good company to work for. So their source of income is equal to their, job, which is their profession. I know how to write an impressive CV so I can find a good job. The reason I'm not rich is because I have kids. Some people say that and they blame it on the kids, and those people sort of like really tend to just work for money. So all their focus is on like, I'm working to get the money. Then you've got someone who has got a different mindset, person B. They study hard so that I can find a company to buy. The reason I must be rich is because I have kids. So rather than, I'm not rich because of my kids, some people are sort of looking at it like, I have to be rich. I have to make money because of my kids. I have money work for me. So that's something that we're going to explore today, that, how do you have your money work for you rather than you working for money? And even if you have to work for money initially, but how can you have put in a plan in place so that in the long term, you have your money working for you? It's good to work for money. It's good to have a job and get an income, but you need to sort of like plan ahead and sort of think of like, how can I then get this money working for me? If I want to be around for the next 50 years, what's going to happen? What's my plan? So those are some of the things that, we need to look into and be able to know how to write strong business and financial plans that can create jobs. How can I help others as well? So you're really kind of shifting from, the reason I don't have money is my kids. You're really, moving to a prospect where you're saying, well, because of my kids, I have to do this. So we need to change our mindset. So knowledge is vital, but it is your work ethic and beliefs about your personal success that will largely determine whether you're going, whether or not you're successful. So really knowledge is important. We need to be financially literate. And it doesn't take too much time. I sort of started by just trying to learn one or two financial words every day. And you can do that by just checking on, Googling different words. And there are some apps as well that you can use to sort of like learn different things. What does investing mean? What is an asset? What is this? You sort of, pick those things gradually while you're sitting, during lunchtime, just pick a time it's just like learning the alphabet. You just learn little by little. And, before you know it, you actually improved your financial literacy. If you ask most people, if they would like to be rich or financially free, they would say yes. But are you prepared, for the financial blessing? Sometimes, I want to be rich. You then make some money. But are you then prepared to know that, okay, I've got this money. If I keep it in the bank, it's making 0.01%. What can I actually do with this money so that I can actually earn a better return on it? So it's all about, the financial education, being, working on yourself, learning little by little to be more financially, to be able to read your payslip and actually understand everything that is on it. So the basic rules, rule for investing, what kind of income are you working for? So there are different incomes. So like we said, you can have a job. So from your job, you get your ordinary income. So your ordinary earned income. So generally, this is earned from a job via a paycheck. It is the highest type of income, and it is the hardest to build wealth with due to the high taxes and the fact that you are trading time for money. So sometimes because you're trading time for money, you end up not actually having time to, research and look at what you can invest in and things like that. So your ability to earn is based on how long you can work. So this is where you find some of us, I've been there where I was working every godsend hour because I thought that was the way to build wealth. But the more money I was now making, so I was working with some agencies, they were just, taxing all of it. And it was running a losing race because I was just doing more and more hours and I was paying more and more tax as well. So you've got your portfolio income. So this is generally derived from your paper assets such as stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. It is the second highest taxed income and is moderately hard to build wealth with. So you can buy assets and things like that. There are different ways to do this. You can do this in your ISA account, and those things are not in such a way that whatever profits you make are not taxed. So those are different ways that you can look at around that form of income. You have your passive income. So this is money that comes from real estate. So if you've got properties that are generating money, you've got royalties, distributions, it is the lowest taxed income. And with many, it comes with quite a number of tax benefits to it. It is the easiest income for you to build wealth from because it comes with lower taxes and it has got better returns to it. So instead of looking at, okay, at the moment I'm working on the job, I'm getting my ordinary income, but how can I actually turn that into passive income? So passive income is the one that comes into your account when you're sleeping. So how do I turn the money that I'm earning from my job, get it working for me passively so that, it's bringing a return? So we'll look at that in more detail as we go along. So this is just showing the income tax rates, but I think these ones are from, these are from 2018, I think. You need to sort of know how you are taxed. Look at your personal allowance. I think now the personal allowance is much higher than that. It's about 12,000 and something at the moment. So you sort of see the more money you earn when you're sort of like working on a job, you end up when you sort of earn about 46, you end up going into the higher tax bracket, and you sort of like, the tax rate goes to 40%. But for update information, up-to-date information, if you go on gov.uk, you can sort of see the different ways in which the money that you earn from a job, how it is taxed, and the rates of taxes that are there. And I think it's a good thing for you to be able to look at your payslip and really understand where the money has gone. Because it's one thing to work for money. It's one thing to actually know that, I got paid £2,000 this month. Where did the rest go? Really understand, okay, which tax rate are you on? What can you actually do to minimize the amount of tax that you're paying and things like that? But for ordinary, for someone working in a job, it's pretty much these types of taxes that you will see coming off your income. Okay, so this is corporation tax. When I did this, it was, it's for small companies. If your company is kind of making profits under 300,000, it's 20%. If it's over that, it's 21%. At the moment, there are talks about whether the government is going to lower the corporation tax. I know that they've kind of gone with the VAT at the moment. So gov.uk is your best place to sort of look at some of these numbers and So that's why, like, working using your company, like people that work as limited companies, they end up paying less tax compared to someone who is earning that amount in a job. Because if someone was working as a company and they're earning 300,000, their tax is 20%. But we just saw that if it was normal income, once you get to 46,000, you're on 40, so you're paying double compared to the person on the company rate. So those are some of the things that you just need to, have a look. All the information is really on gov.uk. Understand how much you're being paid, understand your pay slip, understand what's coming in and what's going out. This is a statement by Robert Kiyosaki, the guy that wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad, and he was sort of saying that, what he found most often is that the poor and the middle class are the people that work for money, and the rich people have their money work for them. So we can start now to actually looking at getting our money working for us. So be financially literate. I think I've been sort of saying this throughout. The golden rule to be rich is to know the difference between an asset, a liability, and you buy assets. So an asset is money. An asset is money that comes into your pocket. A liability is money that goes out of your pocket. So if you're paying for something, it's not an asset. And that is where, like, some of the beliefs that we have had, for very long periods of time, that, well, the house that I live in, if I'm buying it on a mortgage, it's an asset. It could be an asset if it increases in value, but at the moment, you are paying money out, it is a liability. So anything that puts money in your pocket is your asset. Anything that takes money out is a liability. Getting your car on finance can be the best option, but that car is not an asset because you're taking money out of your pocket. So you need to just think of it that way when you're looking at, your expenditure for the month. Look at how much money is coming in, how much, is going out. What are my liabilities? And try to lower your liabilities so that you have some money to invest. So the educated man financial statements, they've got their income is equal to their expense. So assets, liability. You need to reduce how much you're spending so that you're not spending everything you're earning. I think one of my friends, one of my sisters was saying to me that there's a proverb, I think, in Nigeria that says you're eating with your 10 fingers. So if you are sort of getting all the income and you are spending it all, then you are eating with your 10 fingers. You need to put some away so that money you put away starts making money for you. Money starts working for you. Okay? So you can sort of see that, on a rich person's financial statement, what you'll find is that, their expenses are less than their income. They've got more assets than liabilities. And these are things that we need to work on. Identify the liabilities. I think that's the first step. Identify the things that you're paying for. I normally do like a check for my statement at the beginning of every year, but it might be good to do it, quarterly and even monthly if you can, if you've got the time, to sort of see what are the things coming out, what are the liabilities. Some of the things that I found on my bank statement, I didn't know what it was I was paying for. So I just told them to cancel. Any liabilities that are just coming out. I sat down, looked at it, I don't know what that is. And, lucky enough that day I was at the bank. So I said to the guy, like, yeah, that one, can you cancel that? I don't know what it is. If it's something, they will write to me and say I'm not paying something. And, removed quite a lot of liabilities. So we need to think about assets, money coming in, liability, money coming out. So understanding your financial statement. A financial statement shows you how a company's money, where the money came from, where it is, where it went, and where it is now. So you're looking at the balance sheet. So if you were to go to the bank, you're looking at, your income statement, look at the cash flow statement. You're looking at, how much money is coming in and how much money is being spent. So your banker never asks to see your your report card. Your banker will ask to see your financial statement. So your report card when you leave school is your financial statement. So these days with the credit score, everything that you can get access to is based on your credit score. So it means that your credit score is something that you need to know. Have a look at your credit score. What are the things listed on there? Things that you don't know sometimes, or maybe things that you forgot to pay for. It takes time, but start working on it. And what I did is, like, now these days, things like Experian, they have a free one, so you can download the free app from Experian, so that you constantly keep on top of checking what is what. How do banks see you? Is there anything that I need to be paying? Some things, even though as long as you're clearing things off, you're getting things paid on time and things like that, that help to improve your credit score. So it becomes like your report card when you leave school. So to grow rich, you must know how to read and understand the three parts of your financial statement. You need to understand the profit, the loss, the balance sheet, and your cash flow statement. How much money is coming in, how much is going out. So to improve your financial aptitude, there are things that you need to do. What do you do with money once you make it? How do you keep people from taking it from you? That's a good one, because if you just leave it, you don't know where the money is going and you're just paying every month. How long you keep that money and how hard that money works for you. So these are like really 4 things that you need to do to improve your financial aptitude. How do I get the money? How do I keep it once I've made the money? So the rich don't work for money. So learn from life pushing you. Change yourself instead of blaming others and trying to change them. So those are some of the things that you might need to think of, like, okay, yeah, stop blaming others. How do I get on with this? Don't be affected by fear or greed. Desire is good, but greed might not be as good. Well, greed is not good. So yeah, you need to sort of look at, okay, when I get out of the rat race, where am I going? Passion is equal to anger plus love. So with passion, true learning happens. So you need to be passionate about, understanding your finances, emotions. So energy is in your emotions. So use your emotions to your advantage. Use your emotions to your advantage. Start thinking about, okay, how do I use my emotions to my advantage? A job. Think of a job just as a short-term solution to a long-term problem. So it's not a bad thing to work for money, but you need to have a long-term plan to sort of say, okay, once I earn this money, how do I make it work for me? So don't work for money, have money work for you. So that's kind of like your long-term plan. How can I actually get the money I'm earning from this job or the money I'm making in my business? How do I make that money work for me? So what should I invest in? Once you have the money, you have reduced your liabilities. Now you've got money to invest. What can you invest in? A key component of a full financial education is understanding how to measure whether an asset is strong or not strong, getting yourself educated in understanding what an asset is, different things that you can actually invest in. So one of the ways to do this is to check an asset's full properties. Now, you can get someone saying this is a very good company to invest in, but before you invest into that company, you need to look at its leadership, you look at its mission statement, look at their cash flow, what's coming in, what's going out, communication. Are they communicating what they're doing with the money? What systems do they have in place? What the legals, understand their legals, understand the product that you're investing in. There's quite a lot that you need to do before you actually just start investing in something. I really recommend getting some education on it, really understanding before you put your money into any investment. The fear of failure creates champion excuse makers. Now, this is kind of like me, pretty much me a lot, because you become afraid of failing. Someone else put their money somewhere and they didn't get it back, and that sort of becomes your word, and you never invest because of that. You're actually missing out on money working for you. A lot of people failed before they succeeded. So the fact that you haven't started investing, or you haven't, a lot of people failed before they succeeded. I think this slide I was sort of looking at different people that they had to go through some failures before they actually succeeded. So invest with education, learn, know how to make mistakes. It is impossible to learn without making mistakes. You might make mistakes along the way, but you learn as you go through those mistakes. There's one way I prefer to learn. It is to learn through other people's mistakes. I find that a very useful way to learn. Before I invest in something, I find people that have done it, statements they've made, and actually learn from that and base the way that I manage my money on their successes. So I learn from their mistakes. So the key is to learn the lessons of those mistakes and not to let them take you out of the game. So look at failure as a learning opportunity. So don't look at it as, oh my God, I'm never investing again because I lost, some money. But you might actually miss on the next opportunity. So fear, I've been disappointed one too many times, never again. Well, when it comes to money, you have to sort of look at how to make that money work for you. So instead of running from disappointment, prepare for it. It doesn't mean preparing to accept failure passively, but it means getting ready mentally and emotionally to learn. So if you are prepared, you react, you are calm, you learn from it, and you move on. Investing, now a lot of people have got different fears in terms of investing. I'll lose all my money if I invest in anything riskier than CDs and bonds and mutual funds. Well, if you lose some money, you can learn from the failure. But once you become an educated investor, you'll be in a position to reap potentially huge rewards. I think the other day, Sister Jay was kind of giving some examples of how some funds have actually increased by 300%. So you just basing it on one failure and saying, I'll never do it again. Maybe you need to sort of really go into more detail into the assets or whatever you want to invest in and getting more knowledge on it before you invest. So financial failure can actually be transformed into financial gain. Now, some people say, I have friends who have made lots of money and then lost it all investing. Why should I follow this path? You don't have to follow the path of investing and losing all your money. You need to look at, get knowledge, get experience, so that you actually invest with knowledge, get a healthy dose of caution, can help you to prevent losing your money, all your money. I think there are different ways, and I think Sister Ade, there are people that you can listen to videos on YouTube. There are different ways that you can actually get more learning, more understanding on stocks and shares and things like that before you put your money into them. So reining in your ego will help you to keep from veering off the path of financial freedom. So you need to sort of keep going, but invest with knowledge. So which type of investment is best for me? I think that's a question that I get asked quite a lot. There are different types of investments. I myself in property, but you have to sort of do your research and actually find what you like to do. If you don't like dealing with tenants, then maybe, that's not the way to go. So it's sort of looking at, maybe you want to invest in paper assets, and you invest your time in learning more about that. So to grow rich, you must study these classes and choose what is best for you and work towards becoming an expert. I think working towards becoming an expert in that area, so that you know how to manage your money within that area. So the difference between capital gains and cash flow, that's something that I found really, really important in actually understanding money, knowing that, okay, capital gains is good. If you buy a house, and we know that in the UK, it's most likely that property prices are going to keep going up, because we have an island and we've got more and more people, and we are running out of land to put the properties. So yeah, the prices are likely to keep going up. So you might gain capital through the growth of your asset, of your property as an asset. I sort of, tend to sort of look at the cash flow of things, of the rental income I get from the properties, and look at that as, okay, and I then have the cash flow, which is the difference between what I pay if I have the property on a mortgage, what I pay the bank, what I pay for anything else, the insurances and everything else I have to pay for, then the difference between that is my cash flow. So you can invest for cash flow, or you can invest for capital growth. They are all different ways of investing. It's all about understanding them. It's all about investing with knowledge, becoming an expert in the area of investment that you want to go for. Now, I think I spoke about this earlier about ISAs, just saying that, Barclays sort of called them the icing on the cake, in the sense that if you open an ISA account, you have an allowance. I think this allowance is all dated, because these are my old slides. So yeah, you look at that, see how much how much you can put into your ISA, because that won't be taxed. The interest that you make within that account will not be subject to taxes. So that's another way to look at this. I'll quickly check if I've got any questions. So I'll quickly check on that. So let's see. Okay. Do we have any questions? Anyone that wants to ask any questions around attitudes to money, money mindsets, how to change your mindset around money and things like that. Okay. So money is the worst employer, to work for. Yeah, that's really true. You need to work towards getting, making that money start working for you. Okay. Can you say something to check? Okay. I'm sort of trying to see if I've got any questions. Okay, so yeah, I think Pastor JD, you're saying, you kind of need to be checking on your finances, especially your financial statement. Look at your payslip, see if you can understand it. See where the money is going. There's one thing I actually did recently, which was I used to work for quite a lot of agencies. So I worked for quite a lot of teaching agencies around here. And what I didn't realize is that they were meant to be taking some of my money and putting it into a pension. And they opened different pension pots. I've managed to find about 10. So what I've kind of done now was to try to call all those companies and try to get the money into one pot so I can be able to see how much is in there. I think I was calling some, there was £93 somewhere. Another pension pot had about 120. There was one that actually had about £1,000 in it, and I didn't know about it. So really looking at your payslip, you see where the money is going. You are paying money into a pension somewhere, and you don't even know you are. So those are some of the things that, look at it, see what is it I'm paying for? Where is this money going? I'm making this money, but yeah, I'm on 50,000 a year, and every month I'm taking home 2,500. What's happening to the rest of it? And it's really important for you to understand your money and looking into it, look at where did it go and things like that. Any other questions? So most of what I did was to I looked at old pay slips. I even called some old agencies that I've worked for to just ask them, like, when you were taking pension out of my pay slip, where was it going? Who were you paying it to? It looks like, if you didn't create the pension pot yourself, there are quite a few providers. So they were just going and creating one. So you end up with like different little monies here, there, and there, and you don't even know where they are. And there are some rules, there are some different things as well with regards to, your pensions. There are new rules on pensions where the government actually allows you to invest your pension yourself. So for those people that have sort of like really accumulated quite a lot of money, if you look at the pension fund that your employer is paying your money into, and you're not too good, you're not too impressed with their returns, the government can allow you to take some of that money. There are rules around it on how you can get it released, but you really need to know what exactly that you're going to put that money into. You cannot use it for buying residential properties, and there are some rules around it like that. Just looking at some other questions that have come through. I think I've got some questions on YouTube, which I'm not looking at. So if it is possible for someone to copy them across, I'll just quickly have a look. Do we have any other questions on this platform? I'm just checking to see any other questions here. Okay. So like you said, it's about, I'm just quickly checking this. Okay. Okay, so like we were discussing, we're sort of saying that you need to sort of like look at opportunities that are out there for you in terms of things like investing. The government is trying to sort of put most of the information, I think, in terms of what you can do with your money once you start making money, or what happens with what. I've worked in government policy, and I sort of like really go to details and actually see what the government is saying, because that's the most true word. Anywhere else you might see information is someone else's interpretation of that information. So it's sort of like going to those sources where that, okay, this is what the government is saying and this is what's happening at the moment. That's kind of like the best way to get information about what can I do with my money. But really what I wanted sort of like really share with us today is the concept of like, money shouldn't be a taboo. It shouldn't be something that we are too afraid to talk about. We should be talking to our children about money, teaching them about money. One of my mentors, Jim Rohn, he kind of like had this thing that, that it's not too difficult to teach kids how to make money. That he taught his grandkids how to buy 2 bicycles. So they buy 2 bicycles, one to ride and one to rent. So if you have a friend and the friend doesn't have a bicycle, then they can, while we're going on a ride, they can pay £1 or £2 to rent that bicycle. So there are different ways that you can sort of look at money and really share it with your children. Talk about things like how to budget the money, how to, what percentage of your income should go towards your rent. There are some people that 2/3 of their income goes towards your rent. You know that you're varying on it being too much. So you're kind of like looking at things like if you're sort of putting in what goes towards your rent. There are some books that sort of say maybe 1/3 of your income, nothing more than that. So it's sort of looking at all those different things to say, looking at affordability of things, can I actually afford this? So that you don't overcommit yourself in terms of money. So it's all those discussions that we need to be having with ourselves, with our children, with our spouses. Surveys showing that most people don't even know how much their spouse earns, and that sort of really kind of crucial things that we need to be discussing and actually planning to say, okay, how are we doing with different things, and really busting some of the fears around things like investing, because sometimes we might actually be moving away from opportunities because we are afraid to invest because one thing happened in the past and we keep holding on to that. So you need to just get yourself educated, become an expert in whatever you want to invest in. And there's quite a lot of information out there that we can use to get more educated, to be more financially literate. Learn 1-2 key financial words every day, and before you know it, you become more financially aware. You become more aware of your bank statement and being able to read it and saying, what's going on, what's going where, really understanding what is an asset, what are your liabilities, and things like that is kind of really crucial. So as I'm preparing to sort of round off, do we have any questions? So I'm going to turn that off. So I'm just turning screen share off. Okay. So doesn't look like I've got any other questions that have come through on this. So someone has asked, what is the safest investment to put money into, especially if we are going into a recession? That's a really interesting question. I think all types of investments, they've got their own risks. I think it's good to really assess different investments, before you put your money into them. I personally invest in property, but it's because that's what I've kind of like chose to invest in, and that's what I understand. I've done lots of training on it, so I know what I'm doing when it comes to that. Although I'm sort of dabbling at the moment, looking at shares and things like that, but there are different risks to investments. So it's a matter of assessing and seeing which one would be best for you. I don't think I'm in the best position to be saying which one is the safest, but they all have risks. So it's kind of like, looking at your risk appetite really, and sort of saying, well, is it, do I understand something enough for me to put my money into that? So thank you so much for attending this session. I think that sort of concludes this session today. I don't seem to have any other questions. So yeah, we'll see you again in the next session next Wednesday on Wisdom Time with JD. So thank you so much for being on the session today.